Thank you so much for coming to this tower project to come share your personal experiences with climate change. Thank you for being here. My first question is about nature and your connection to nature. What does it mean?
More than ever, I'm thinking about the four directions, identifying as Lakota and many other um, backgrounds. I always come back to my uncle and auntie's beautiful four directions medallion um, with east, being the yellow here, and thinking about the sun and solar energy and power, which gives us wisdom and understanding. I also think about white, which is in the southern hemisphere. I think about uh, warmth and how we can grow and mature in such a challenging time for Mother Earth. I also think about the West. Oops, here we go, the West, which is represented by a Black hue. And I know as visual and multimedia artists and movement artists, you can appreciate all the different hues and colors of the rainbow. I think about how at the end of the day, these kind of go together in nature. The sun brings us this great morning, and, we always have that rhythm in the evening. Um, and then it also makes me think Black about all the resources, our dark rivers, our soil, our water supply. And then here we go with the red, which really represents the North, as the Black represented the West and others that I've mentioned. Red is not so easy. Coming from the North, and you come from a northern area of the world, it can be beautiful, but it can also be harsh. Um, it can be cleansing. And I think about kind of the trials and tribulations when I think of the North and red. Um, how can we be better conservationists? And how can we, remind ourselves that we are all part of nature?
Thank you. What a gift to share. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really beautiful. Oh, I love that. Thank you. Uh Now, if you think about landscapes, and I don't know your full story where you have lived, but could you describe a landscape, a natural landscape that is really dear to you, where you feel those different directions come together?
There are two places where I really feel perhaps most at home in many ways. There are others, but if you've ever gone to Hideaway, which is over the glaciers past Vancouver, some people, the English word for it is the Queen Charlotte's Islands. It's where the great waters come together from Asia, from Canada, and it is the land of the totem and the sacred water creatures. And when you're just standing in front of the totem and the oceans literally coming together, there's just such a peace that comes over you. And I've learned so much from my Haida brothers and sisters. Another area is my great grandmother's homeland, the Badlands. And, I always wonder why they call it bad lands. And there's a whole history around that. But my family in the Badlands, at Wounded Knee have taught me so much. And which direction means which band of people or nation, and which spirit animals identify us and where they are on the horizon. When you look at the landscape across the Badlands, for me, I would hope that people feel free and centered because they are flat. And you can see the landscape. You can imagine it to be an endless horizon.
Lovely. Thank you for sharing that. Um, so this project being about climate change experiences, and have you, during your lifetime, have you noticed changes in these landscapes or where you are right now in the Northeast US?
Yes, I don't think the fruit is as sweet. When you have a blackberry, or you're picking strawberries or Concord grapes or um, whatever, berry that Mother Earth has gifted us, it's just not as sweet.
Hmm.
It is not as defined as I remember when I was a child, when the actual size of the fruit seemed to just envelop you, as well as the flavor. So it says something to me about the soil and the nutrients that we're imbibing in. I've been to other countries like Panama as a vegetarian and an animal lover and supporter. I eat a lot of fruit and I eat a lot of vegetables. I bit into a local fruit in Panama City, and I couldn't believe it was that same feeling of when I was a little girl, and where the fruit, the aroma, the texture, the flavor was so surprisingly beautiful, wonderful. It awakened my senses. And I don't feel that very often anymore.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, many things are mass produced also, so yeah, you can.
And left in, carts and trucks and caravans on ships. So by the time they reach you, all the lushness that our fruits and vegetables are really born with are kind of grayed out. So what does that say when we ingest and put them into our body? It says to me we need to study the soil, our water, our nutrients, how the food chain is being handled.
I just had an interviewee from Madagascar say last week how it's a common knowledge for them that you need to change the plants in the soil each year because otherwise they they pull out all the nutrients from the soil, and so the soil needs to enrich and be planted with new different plants every year.
Yes, yes, yes. If you're able to. My family in the Badlands, the soil just at one, it seemed somewhere in our history, the soil just became not as rich. And we have to look at that. Friends of ours who identify as Quaker were able to send my relatives garden tools and packs and mini gardens. And we're just hoping that the soil, the water, the sun, all the components that come into creating food security, not food insecurity, happen for a small band of people.
So working together, do you think that there are any other solutions for making food taste better or uh, helping nature renew itself and come back alive? Um, do you have any thoughts like what we can do as human beings? What do we need to do to help nature and our environments to renew?
It's an excellent question. Sorry. I feel that we need to review and explore our traditional ways of growing food and taking care of our environment. What's new, what's now is not always what's best for our earth and for our own, lives. I think Madagascar, the traditions there, and from other indigenous sources, as well as other countries that practice the traditional arts, could be, including Finland and others, could really benefit. And working for a major science museum in my lifetime, um, I've learned from scientists who've gone back to, different countries and looked at those traditions and brought some of them back, and they've been very successful. I think we need to experiment and pilot with some of those traditional practices.
Yes, I feel that too. Like growing up in the 80s, I think about my parents and especially my mom who has all these skills in different kinds of crafts and but then growing up in the 80s, it was something because it became easier to purchase things in the stores. So it was like I was sort of looking down upon those skills. And now I'm thinking like, well, there was a lot of wisdom in knowing those skills and being resourceful and sort of independent.
Yes. And as we've shared, it's not just about food, it's just about your wearing or natural skills instead of manufactured perfumes, but quilting, needlepoint, and using natural fibers. We don't need more artificial in our everyday. In the 80s were all about, aerosol spray cans for big hair and, a lot of artifice. It was a fun era, but at the same time, I think, some of our earth savvy ways were neglected for more artifice, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Thank you so much for participating for this interview.
I think your work is um, very important. It's vital for our planet, for our people. And as Jane Goodall would say, I would hope that, it's step by step and it's about observation. It requires a certain level of patience and compassion for ourselves and the world.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.